What's going on, guys? Jake Sanders with the Beefy Built YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be working on the CRV. We're going to be doing the Landrover all-wheel drive viscous conversion with the Landrover drive shaft using DCA Performance adapters, so I don't have to have a drive shaft made. The drive shaft is just going to bolt in. We'll go over that in a second. But for right now, ignore the broken down 240 in the background. We'll cover that in another video. But for right now, we're going to be putting these clutch pack delete plates that we sell at Hrgengineering inside this rear diff that I grabbed out of a 98 CRV at Pull Apart. Normally I recommend people getting element drive or rear diffs because they engage better. But for this, since we're going to be removing the real-time four-wheel drive system anyways with these clutch delete plates, it really doesn't matter. So I just grabbed whatever the first one I saw was. So what we're going to do is, after this thing gets done draining, we're going to take it outside, put it on the CRV table. After we get all these 8mm bolts broken loose, we'll pull the snout off, we'll get the pump out, and we'll get the clutch packs out, and we'll go ahead and replace all the clutches with these delete plates and then reassemble it. Alright, so first thing we're going to do, we're going to pull off all these 8mm bolts that are around the snout. Because this is where the pump's housed, this is where the differential's housed. The pump right here is what creates pressure inside the rear diff that engages the clutch packs that are right here, and then that in turn engages the all-wheel drive system and makes the rear diff start working. That's less than good. So I just had one of the bolts shear off inside the housing, so hopefully we can get that out later on. Alright, so I got the snout of the diff off, broke off a bolt inside the case right here, so I'm going to have to drill that out, possibly tap it. I might just be able to put a nut on the back side of it though, we'll see. But yeah, so this is what the diff looks like with the snout off of it. There's the cage that the clutches sit inside right there, which you can remove by taking the bolt out of that, but I don't really see the point in doing all of that. And then you have this section, which is all of your clutches that spin individually, as you can tell, and they grab onto those teeth on the outside edge there, and the inside edge will spin separately from it, and that's where the slippage comes from, and that's why you hear this howling. It's this clutch material slipping against these plates, and it's when it's putting pressure on it, it creates a vibration and it starts to howl. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull all of this off, and I might go ahead and remove the pump. There's no reason for a pump to be in there anymore since the clutches are going to be replaced with those plates over there. So this pump will do absolutely nothing. So I think I'm going to go ahead and remove it just to keep things simplistic, since I'm going to be running like a 75-90 weight gear oil in this thing now, rather than the dual pump 2 fluid, since it doesn't have the clutches anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing that. Alright, so now we have the pump assembly off, and you're just left with this stub, the really long shaft that comes off the back of the diff. If you spin that, you can see that the differential is moving. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up these clutch plates, and we're going to replace these clutches with the plates, and then we'll reassemble everything. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and open these up now. Alright, so if you look on these right here, you can see where it has HRG engraved into it. What you're going to need to do is you need all of these teeth to line up with the outer teeth. So you're going to take the two HRG logos and face them in towards each other. Line up the outer teeth, and the inner teeth should line up as well. There you go. And then what we're going to do, we're going to take differential here, pull this last plate out of it. It's going to be a little bit of a tight fit, so you're going to have to kind of wiggle it in there. Once you got the first one on, go ahead and grab the second one. Make sure that they line up. And there you go. All those are all plated up. Alright, as you can see, the outer plate that goes on the back side of the cage has a little bit of a gap in between it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of these plates, some of these clutch discs, and I'm going to use that to kind of shim it out so it's about the same exact distance, so it doesn't have any gap in between it. Looks like you're just going to take one plate and pull this back off, slide this plate over here, and then sandwiches together nicely, and there's no gaps, so that should work pretty well. So now that the pump's out, we can take the center piece of our dual pump system that was inside all these clutches and plates, and we're going to put the side with the C-clip down first. And when you take this apart, it's going to leave 2 plates and 1 clutch pack inside here. You're going to leave those in there because that's going to take up the slack on the front side of this, where the opposite side of these teeth are. So just drop that in there like so, and it should spin. So then you're going to take your first clutch delete plate and you're going to slowly drop that in. Might take a little bit of finesse. That's the first one in. Now you're going to grab the second one. The logos are going to face each other, so this one's going to go face down. Again, it might take a little bit of finessing it to get it to slide in there because it is tight. Clearances are very precise. Alright, so we got the plates in. There's that spare plate on the back side that we had talked about, that we had pulled from our clutch pack stack. Then this piece is going to go on the back side, just like so. And then you're going to throw a few tacks here and there throughout it, just to keep it in place. And then we can go ahead and reassemble. So I got my little Lincoln Handy MIG flux core welder going, and I'm just throwing a few tacks all around this cage to keep it in place. It's going to have pressure side to side, like twisting motion, not forward and back. So I mean, it's not like I need to go use my welder at work to make this thing super strong. So I'm just going to use this thing, just tack it in place, and we should be good to go. So I think I'm going to be taking this with me to work on Monday, and I'm going to put a nut over top of this, build up that bolt, and weld the bolt to the nut. Hopefully I can back it out then. We'll see. If not, I'll just glob it up with a lot of extra RTV and just tighten down these two and call it a day. But for right now, I wanted to go ahead and show you guys something, because some of you might not have the ability to weld at your home garage to do it the way that I did it. So if you wanted to install your clutch delete pack without having to weld it all, what you're going to need to do is keep this differential housing inside, or this pump inside the differential housing. This thrust washer right here goes on the back side. It rests right along here, and that rests on the front side of the pump housing right there, and that keeps pressure on this, so it'll keep everything together. You might need to add a few more clutch packs on the back side of this to get the cage level with the back edge of or the plate to the level to the back edge of this cage here. But other than that, you should be good to go. If you don't want to weld it, just install a few more clutch packs and plates on the back side of this underneath this case, or this cover to the case, and then bolt this back in and install your thrust washer on the back side of here again, and that would do it. So I got the Landrover drive shaft and the viscous laying over here, and now I need to go ahead and replace this boot on here for the CV on the drive shaft because it's torn and slinging grease everywhere. So I waited for a month and a half for this boot to show up from Europe because I couldn't find it here in America, and now I'm going to go ahead and replace it, and we can go ahead and get working on getting this thing installed. The mounting plate is over here drying, painting that flat black so it doesn't rust, and yeah, we'll get installing this here soon. Okay, so everything decided to die while I was recording that, so we're in manual gimbal mode, but that boot's ready to go on. I finally got that one off. The pulley system worked fine. It was just kind of hard to get it set up. I had to use a set of extensions to hold the drive shaft in place, but we're ready to go back on and then zip tie everything up. Since the gimbal's dead, I'm just going to go ahead and do it, and I'll fill you guys in later. So the boot has been replaced, everything died, so I just kind of went ahead and did everything. I had to put some Honda bond around the cup here because it was a different diameter, so I had that Honda bonded and just kind of bolted down for now. Hopefully that all holds. But currently working on getting the diff replaced. The new one sitting right there. As for that bolt that I broke off in it, I did not fix it. I couldn't get it out, tried welding to it, tried drilling it out, it was just making it worse, so I just Honda bonded it all together and then just tightened it down real good. So hopefully we'll be good there. Right now I'm working on getting the rear diff out. I got all the bolts broken free and the bolt out of the lower control arm to the rear hub, so that can just slide out now. I just gotta break that axle loose, but first I need to go ahead and drain the diff so I don't cover myself in dual pump fluid, and we'll get to it. So here's the old diff. It's pretty beat up. One side's not turning, so that's an issue. So we're gonna go ahead and replace it with this one. And I also have a new cross member, whatever you want to call that thing. It's got a window weld that I put in it to try and stiffen up the mounts a little bit. Probably won't do too much, but it's something, seeing as I can't find new mounts for these things. So I'm going to go ahead and get this diff bolted back up to the cross member and go ahead and get it installed. So the new diff's in. I'm just having trouble getting the passenger side CV to lock in place. So I'm gonna work on that, but I'm gonna go ahead and turn the camera off because this is boring and I'm sure you guys know how to do this already. Alright, so now that we have the diff in, we're gonna go ahead and start installing the adapters on the transfer case and the rear diff. So this is the front adapter for the Landrover drive shaft to a B20 transmission. It's from DCA Performance. It's a nice machined aluminum part. It's really pretty. So we're gonna go ahead and get this installed now. Comes with all the hardware you need and some thread locker as well. So we'll go ahead and get that installed. This is our transfer case, and this piece slots onto here like that. It's machined to fit. It's really snug. And then you're just gonna take the bolts, run them in by hand, each and every one. Throw a little bit of thread locker on them, and you'll be good to go. I like to put mine in first just to get it lined up. Just gonna do 2 bolts loosely, and then I'll throw some thread locker on the other bolts and then run those all the way in. So it looks like the bolts are going to take 35 foot-pounds for the smaller ones, and the larger ones take 50. So these ones are going to get 35. Alright, now that we have the adapters on both the front transfer case and the rear differential, we're going to go grab our viscous coupler mounting plate, and we're going to go ahead and bolt that in right here, here, and then I put a rib nut in right here, right there, and another one right there. I had to drill out this spot right here because the nut that I had to weld on the back side of the plate has to recess up into there. The other one is able to fit in right along here. I had to hammer that a little bit, but no big deal. So I'm gonna go grab that and bolt that in real quick. Alright, so the mounting plate's all bolted in, so now I'm going to go ahead and grab the diff, or the drive shaft, and go ahead and start getting that installed. So it looked like the camera died while I was doing all of that, but the drive shaft is officially in. We just got to go through and torque down all the bolts, 35 for the smalls, 50 foot-pounds for the big ones, and then go back through, tighten my lug nuts. Alright, so that's everything installed. The drive shaft's in, got the adapters on the rear, got the plate mounted up for the viscous, and we got the adapter on the front. I've probably put about 1,000 miles on it at this point, and it engages really well. I'll throw a couple of videos in here of me playing around in the field and off-roading up in the mountains with some friends. Nothing too crazy, but
It does really well. The only issue I'm having is the drive shaft is shuddering whenever I'm accelerating in lower gears, like first and second. Like this whole entire assembly like wiggles, I guess. I guess the mounts right here for the viscous are a little bit worn, so I'm gonna order new ones of those and get those installed. But overall, I'm extremely impressed and happy with this purchase. It was definitely worth it. Car's actually all-wheel drive now. It's not front-wheel drive with rear-wheel assist, as I used to call it. So yeah, that's gonna do it for today's video. If you care to, go ahead and like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Y'all have a good night.